Welcome to the MoneyWise Channel. On this channel, we're going to talk about inspirational events and a lot of great money things, Success goes to the person that holds on after everybody else has let go. Always remember that. I'm going to give my reaction on something that I saw, and hopefully it leaves you inspired to keep pushing on or to get up and go after whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Today we're going to be talking about a guy named Tyler Perry. Now, I watched this interview and I really enjoyed it. So this one's going to be called Billionaire Tyler Perry's interview on how he used email marketing to make $20 million. It's called Billionaire Tyler Perry's interview on how he used email marketing to make $20 million. I think that's a good title. So here we go. Before we talk about what he actually said in the interview, I think it's important that I give you some background on him. So let's start like this. His real name is Emmett Perry Jr. That's Emmett Perry Jr. He was born September 13th, 1969 in New Orleans, Louisiana. His father's name is Emmett Perry Sr., and his father was a carpenter. His mother is Willie Maxine Perry, and Tyler has 3 siblings. They all grew up together in New Orleans. When he spoke on his father, and whenever he speaks on his father, it's never really been good. He says his father was abusive, and his slogan was beat it out of you, or beat the hell out of you. There's always something in that way when he talks about his father, so it's never been a nice way he speaks on him. It's always pretty bad. It was so bad that he changed his name legally at 16 from Emmett to Tyler. So that's why we call him Tyler Perry today. He legally changed his name from Emmett Perry Jr. to Tyler Perry, period. He did that at 16 because he wanted to distance himself from him, because he felt he was too abusive to him and his mother and his brothers and sisters, but more him and his mother. So he spoke that at church is the only place where he felt refuge and peace and just loved. Only in church, in a time period he'd be there for either for an hour to 3 hours, is when he felt at peace. It's also been said in his life that he spoke in the past that he was molested at age 10 by his best friend's mother. He used to go visit, and said his best friend's mother was molesting him over and over and over again through the years, and that he was also molested before that by 3 to 4 guys that molested him too. So it was a lot of that going on in his life. And as you push forward, I remember him talking about that they did a DNA test on him and his father as he got older, and found out, even though he said he didn't like him and all this stuff like that, come to find out that his mother had cheated on his dad, and that the DNA showed that he was never really a junior anyway, that his mom had actually cheated, and it was him and the kids were actually questionable. Were they even his? So they found out that he's really not a junior anyway, that the dad that wasn't even his son. So basically he helped raise a child that wasn't even his. So Tyler never really speaks on his mom too much about that situation. And I always wonder in the community though, we are real quick to bash the father. You guys ever notice that? We'll bash the father, but when we find out that the mother did something wrong, it's like, no, we ain't gonna speak on her and her cheating. And maybe that's probably why there was some problems there. If the mom wasn't staying home, she was running out doing, I don't know the situation, but it takes 2 to tangle. And it always surprises me that we'll bash the father, but we won't speak on, I think the thing is, if you change your last name, You're not a junior anyway, and just let it be. But this continual bashing of Emmett Perry, I don't really know what that's about. But to each his own. So they did a DNA test, and he was not the father, as they would say on the Maury show. So, moving along, Tyler never finished high school. He earned a GED. And I think that's important because education is what you need to do what you want to get done. It doesn't make sense to go get a PhD in medical if what you want to do is build houses. I just think it all depends on what you're doing, because we try to say everybody needs to do this and everybody needs to go to college, and that's not necessary. Get the education for what you're after, the certificates that you need, the license and registration that you need to do what you want to do. That's what I think is important for people to do. So he said that, in his early 20s, he was watching the Oprah show. He was somewhat depressed, and he said he heard someone say on the show, writing is therapeutic. So he started writing down little things, taking little notes, and all these little notes and little things he was writing end up turning into I Know I've Been Changed. So that was the play he ended up writing, called I Know I've Been Changed, and it was just a breakdown of things he wrote after watching the Oprah show. In 1990, he moved to Atlanta, and he went with about $12,000 of his savings that he had been working on, and he put all of it into this play called I Know I've Been Changed. He was about 22 years old, and he started doing this at a local community center. As he started doing that, people kept coming to see it. So from 1990 to 1998, 8 years later, at the age of 28, he kept retooling this play over and over and over, and people kept coming to see it. So finally, when he got it to a place he felt he liked and he had made enough money, he said, I'm going to take this on the road. So when he took it on the road, he did it at the House of Blues, then he did it at the Fox Center, then he decided to take it on this thing called the Chitlin Circuit. And basically what it is, it's an urban theater type circuit. It's basically in the hood, or just for African Americans to come check it out. It's just their theaters, things that they're interested in. So he basically just focused 100% on the African American community. So by doing that, he started to continue to have people, when they come in, to fill out their email information, so everybody would come would see it. He had about 35,000 people attending his plays a week. 35,000 people a week, while he just stayed on the road, and he was just collecting all these emails. So in 2005, Forbes said he had over $100 million in tickets. He had 30 million in videos and 20 million in merchandise. So Forbes said in 2005 he had over 100 million in tickets, 30 million in videos, and 20 million in merchandise. That was just from 35,000 people coming a week. He was really on a roll. He was moving along pretty fast. That's incredible. And all this is independent. So from that, he was able to raise up $5.5 million for his first movie called Diary of a Mad Black Woman. When this came out, he ended up grossing $50.6 million. Diary of a Mad Band grossed $50.6 million. Now, let's be clear, when it came out, by the different people that the movie critics, they gave him a 16% approval rate. They said the movie sucked. They said it was horrible, it was terrible, they didn't like it. 16%, but he still grossed $50.6 million because he went for his niche. He stayed in his pocket, he stayed in his lane, he kept his eyes on what he was after. So February 24th, 2006, he ends up dropping Madea Family Reunion. When he dropped that, he grossed $65 million. So now he's doing all this, really pushing himself out here, and he's making a lot of money. So the critics are still beating him up, but they're leaning to the left because they see this is moving, it's getting bigger. So February 14, 2007, a year later, after Medea family reunion, Lionsgate does a deal with him, and he drops a movie called Daddy's Little Girl. Now, I believe this is where it started to cross over a little bit more, because he had like Gabrielle Union in it and different people like that in it, and he did 31 million with that plus, and he started to grow bigger and bigger. After that, every film he did after that, he was doing 25 million and up grossing easily. So October 2nd, 2012, he finally struck a deal with the woman who had inspired him to work and to write, Oprah. He finally did it. October 2nd, 2012. He did a partnership that he would write shows for her own network, Oprah's Winfrey's network. He did a deal with them, a partnership that he would script all these shows. So that was a big deal for him, because remember, she's the one that inspired him. Was her show that had happened a long time ago, you know, that had inspired him when he was in his early 20s. So now he's sitting here and he actually does a deal with her. That had to be a great moment for him. October 2nd, 2012, to actually strike a deal with the person. Imagine, with the person that inspired you to do what you do. If you're a singer and you saw a singer you like and you actually do a deal with them, or you're an engineer and you actually get to do a creation with someone that inspired you, however it is, just to be able to work with the person that inspired you, that had to be a big deal for him. So he did that. And so he did that, and in 2015 he ended up buying a 330 acres of land in Atlanta, and it was a old army base called Fort McPherson, and he became the first African American to own his own major film studio, you know, and that's just great, you know. Now, in the interview, he actually spoke about how people would give their emails at the plays that they attended, and he would put out email blasts whenever he wanted people to watch his new movies, plays, or buy merch. And he did this before Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. So, you know, he figured out a way to stay in touch with his people, find his people, and they would just go out and just back him. So, you know, I just want to say this. I'm proud of Tyler Perry. You know, he has a network of $1 billion and up. And just to be the first African American to own his own major film studio, we have to salute him for that. You know, I'm so proud of him. And I know people dislike him because of the Medea, man, putting on a dress. And some people say this, that, and I get that. But we all fall short of the glory of God, as they say. And whatever his issues is, that's his issues. But my thing is, I'm proud of him. I hope he keeps doing his work, keep moving down the road, and hope he stays inspired. And to you, you stay excited about life. You know, you keep going after what you're going after. You know, I will be dropping more videos to inspire. Faith without works is dead. Remember, keep your eyes out for the small things as you're doing the big things. Remember, he kept his eyes on just that paperwork, writing, and he still writes a lot today, even though he was after bigger things. You know, like and subscribe to this MoneyWise channel for more wisdom in the future. And remember, the plans may change, but the goals stay the same. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Yep.